Okay guys, welcome to another video. We're going to talk about tools in this one. If you are a do-it-yourself investor or if you want to become one, you need to go deep on tools and analysis and methods. And I'm not talking about Yahoo Finance. You need to go deeper than these surface things that are easily available and get at the stuff that matters that's going to help you build some wealth. A lot of these tools fly under the radar. They're not glamorous, they're not glossy, they don't come with fancy sales pitches, but I'm going to tell you the ones that I've used to build some wealth. I'm going to include some links down into the description so that you can use them and check them out as well. Let's get into it.
You have to pay attention to your money.
So I've mentioned in other videos that my strategy is heavily focused on dividend growth investing. Now, if you are this type of investor, you need data because the decision of which stock to buy is heavily based on some of the fundamental aspects of these companies, which are the numbers that are behind their ability to pay a dividend consistently, that analyze the safety of the dividend, that analyze it in relation to other stocks in the same industry. It's a very data-driven approach in terms of understanding the financial health of the company and getting an assessment of how safe, how secure, and how likely that dividend is to grow in the future. So there's a community of folks out there that have assembled these different views of dividend-paying stocks, typically in spreadsheet formats, and they give you all of this information. And the quality of this analysis is unbelievable. It's kind of crazy that you can get this for free. There are some very, very knowledgeable people that have assembled this stuff, and then there's a broader community of people that have vetted it all and made suggestions and refinements and tweaks over time. So I'm pointing out a site here that has all of these spreadsheets for different markets around the world that are sort of collected in one place. So depending on where you are, you know, if you're in the US, if you're in Europe, if you're Canadian, then there are different country-specific flavors of these kinds of spreadsheets that are all linked here in one place. I'll put a link to this site down in the description so that you can check it out. And so I'd really encourage you to find the one that you're interested in for your market and really dig into these specifics. The spreadsheets are fantastic because you can download them, you can modify them, you can import them into your own spreadsheets and then use the data in your own calculations, right? So this is great for people that want to build their own screening criteria within a spreadsheet, if you want to massage the data and all that kind of thing. Hugely helpful, I think, in building your watch list of potential stocks to buy. So, you know, you might look at these spreadsheets and say, okay, well, I'm interested in companies that have at least a 10, 20-year track record of paying dividends, that also have growth and earnings potential and all this kind of thing. You can get that data from these spreadsheets, put those stocks onto your watch list, and then start building that portfolio over time. You can also really understand and get some additional insight into these numbers by looking at the broader community discussions that are around these things, either on the forums that are built into the websites maintained by the authors of these spreadsheets, but a lot of these things are also discussed in other broader community forums like Reddit and so on. So there's a lot of ways you can actually use this information to learn and get better at dividend investing and dividend growth investing. And of course, the best thing is that these spreadsheets are free, right? They are just collections of information that are assembled by people who are passionate about this stuff. These are people that enjoy sharing this kind of information and talking to like-minded folks. So the next site or tool that I want to talk about is a site called Advfn. This is an interesting tool. It's been around for a long time. I think I registered for it almost a decade ago, and I think it was around before then. It comes, just like the spreadsheet, it comes in these different country-specific versions. So I think it started in the UK. There's a Canadian and a US version that has a full comprehensive database of stocks in all of these different countries. And there's a lot of cool information there that you can download for free. If you register for a free account, you get access to a lot of this data. There are some premium features that you can upgrade and subscribe for. I've never done that. I don't even know what they are. I just use the free versions of the site. I think it's pretty cool. But really, the thing I use the most on this site that I always have is the screener capability that it has in here. So there's a ton of stock screener tools everywhere. Pretty much everybody with any site that's dedicated to finance will have some kind of screener tool. The ones here on Advfn, though, are different. They are heavily focused on the fundamental data that they've compiled over time on these stocks. So it's one of the single best resources I've ever found for free that will do comprehensive screening of deep fundamental data. And you can build some very sophisticated screens that will use your own criteria to narrow down your stock selection and find good picks for your watch list or stocks that you want to buy. So I think it's a great way to get into screening. The other reason I think it's actually a good spot for beginners, even though it's so feature rich and so complicated, they start you out with these pre-built screeners that are actually reflective of some very well-known criteria that a lot of these different investing gurus over the years have written books about and have talked about their own methods for screening. You can actually open up those pre-built screens and you can learn from them, right? So if you're reading a book by O'Shaughnessy, for example, on a particular screening method, or if you're into the CanSlim screening method, you can actually see some of the elements of those investing strategies or screening strategies reflected in these pre-built screens. You can run them yourself on your own country stocks to try to find stocks that fit that criteria, and then you can modify them, and add and remove different criteria and threshold to build up your own screens to suit your own goals over time. So the next tool I'd like to talk about is a tool called Stockopedia. And I think it's a step up from Advfn in terms of the richness of the features that it offers. It has a fancier interface. It has a deeper database of historical fundamental information on stocks, and they have more pre-built resources that you can learn from and really advance your screening techniques. What I really like about Stockopedia, though, is that they introduce the concept of ranking in addition to screening. So the problem I've always had with stock screening, even before I knew about a ranking system or such a thing existed, is that screener rules are very hard and fast in terms of their cutoffs or their thresholds, right? And sometimes that's not exactly what you want, right? If a stock was just a tiny fraction off from that threshold, maybe you still want to consider it. So then what you have to do is you have to start tweaking the thresholds and rules in your screener to make them a little bit broader, a little bit tighter, to try to actually find stocks that you're interested in. So the idea of a ranking system solves this problem. It's more sophisticated than screening, and what it does is it allows you to define weighted rules. So instead of a hard cutoff, it might say there's a preference for as low a value as possible on this particular factor. So PE ratio, for example, maybe you want that as low as possible. One of my favorite rules in a ranking system is sales growth, right? So I want sales growth to be as close to 5% or so as I can get it, because I've found that excessive sales growth will lead to sort of an irrational exuberance in terms of price accumulation. The stock will get too expensive. If sales growth is too low, too far below that 5% number, then the business isn't doing so well, right? So I might say that yield is super important to me. I want a yield as high as possible, right? And at the same time, I want a payout ratio as low as possible. This is an indicator that the dividend is secure. Very common use of factors that you can combine together to achieve an overall score for a stock. And what I like about Stockopedia is that they have some very good canned ranking systems. I think they call them stock ranks that reflect these different systems. And you can learn from those things, right? You can look at the criteria that they've put into these ranking systems with different weights. And Stockopedia has other features as well. They have these canned reports that are quite nice. There's some good data in there. You can see here what some of these look like. And of course, they have the typical portfolio tracking and basic chart capabilities and things like that. There's also a healthy selection of technical analysis indicators if that's something that you're interested in. So I think overall, Stockopedia has an interesting array of tools that sort of get you beyond basic screening. They get you a deeper, richer set of fundamental data, and they add that ranking capability. Okay, and finally, the last tool I would like to talk about is Portfolio 123. So this is my personal favorite. I don't think there's anything else that's added quite as much value to me in my own journey of becoming an investor and building wealth than this tool. It's really unbelievable. They have a screener that is probably the best of anyone that I've ever used anywhere. It has, same as Stockopedia, it has that rich capability to screen on fundamental factors, technical factors, price data, all of that stuff. But in addition to that, it has the ability to combine sophisticated ranking systems into the screener. So after a particular set of stocks have been screened, it will actually sort them according to ranking criteria that you can either define on your own, or you can use, again, canned ranking systems that are available out of the box with your subscription to Portfolio 123. So just like Stockopedia, you can learn from these pre-built screens and pre-built ranking systems, and then you can start constructing your own screens and your own ranks that get more closely tailored to your own investing goals. But then the capability that's layered on top of screening is backtesting. So this is really key, and it's really hard to find this in any sort of cost-effective tool, but at Portfolio 123, they have the ability to take your set of screens and test the effect of what would have happened if you had used that screener over, let's say, a 10 or 15-year period to buy and sell stocks every week, every 4 weeks, biannually, whatever frequency you choose. How successful would that investing strategy have been over a back-tested period of time? That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work in the future, but it gives you confidence that perhaps a particular screening criteria is good or no good. Maybe a particular ranking factor should be more highly weighted or less highly weighted. You can tweak that stuff over time, and you can get some indication of the relative success of the changes that you're making, at least in a past time period. So along with that power comes a lot of danger. I think backtesting is something that tricks people into thinking, wow, I've found the golden goose here. I've identified this thing that is going to make $1 bazillion, and you pour all your money into it and it falls apart the next day, because the future is not necessarily like the past, right? So it's not a be-all end-all, but it's an invaluable learning tool. The other important thing about Portfolio 123 is the fundamental data that's available in some really beautiful views. So you can see here some of the panel views. You can see some of the fundamental data that's available in quick little summaries, little charts, little snippets of graphs. The way that they've assembled this data and made it easily searchable and easily readable is pretty fantastic. So even if you're not into building these sophisticated screens and ranking systems and all that kind of thing, just the presentation of the data here is tremendously useful. And finally, I have to say the other valuable thing about this particular tool is the community. So there's an online forum here like you find in a lot of these tools, but the user community that has grown up here over the years, I've actually been a subscriber for quite a long time. The folks that have joined and stayed on this platform are unbelievably knowledgeable, and they're quite willing to share the things that they've learned over time about investing, about successful analysis methods and screening methods and backtesting methods and all that sort of thing. And I think I've learned more there than I've learned almost anywhere else. I think it's probably worth the cost of a subscription just to have access to those forums. So that's it, guys. I hope these tools help you out. I have to say they've really helped me out. So if they have, then please give the video a like. Consider subscribing. I'd like to produce more videos like this, and the more subscribers I have, the more likely I am to do that. Don't forget to ring the bell so you're notified when I post a new video, and I will see you in the next one.